How's it going, Daniel?
Going good. Going good. Love and life. Shilling the bit box over here, you know.
Awesome. Excellent. We'll see you in Riga.
Yes, you will. Yeah. We're off to Biarritz tomorrow. So we're driving over to Biarritz because that's just a 4-hour journey for us. So we're going to spend the next 4 or 5 days on the beach. I mean, at the conference and doing all that kind of stuff. And then we're off to Riga on the 1st, and we'll be there until the 5th. And then we're off to Lugano in October and Prague for Liberty in Our Lifetime. And then to the Princess Hotel, Knut, with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Yes, we'll see each other a lot this year, too. Then, we're both me and Luke are going to Lugano, by the way.
95%. Here, let's get our next guest on to ask the question he posed in the chat.
Let's get Larry in here. Yeah.
Hi, Larry.
Oh, there he is. My favorite boomer.
FFS. I love that. FFS.
It's for the Danish Dyslexics Society.
Oh, the question I asked in the chat is: Did Princey just take his niacin, or has he been out in the sun? Because he's got his face and it looks like a niacin flush, and I know that because I'm taking niacin too, and I get the same thing. It's good stuff.
Yeah, Larry, I've done my flush today earlier.
That's fine.
I have been sitting by the pool and enjoying the sun. We've had my brother and his family over, so we've been doing a lot of river swimming and getting out there, and nice. In a base tan for Biarritz conference next week. But the flush is awesome, huh? Are you enjoying that?
It really is. Yeah, I'm still at much smaller numbers than you guys, but there's something to this, I think. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been swimming today. I've been skinny dipping today. This morning.
You are in Sweden.
Yeah.
That's the only way to swim, isn't it? I mean, that's not
in the ocean or in a river or lake.
In the archipelago here in Stockholm. So
nice,
beautiful.
That is the Baltic Sea, Larry. Just for
Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. But did you just pursue Larry's American geography skills here, Luke?
Well, I'm presuming that at least you don't necessarily need to know which body of water is which.
No, but I think he doesn't know that we're in Stockholm. But I'm happy to tell you.
No, because I can see the BTXC office in Stockholm on your list. So I know you're there. Yeah, I appreciate him telling me that that actually is the Baltic Sea. Because I did archipelago. I kind of assumed it was, or maybe like a harbor or something, right?
This was more nature oriented, out on an island, like a half an hour drive from here.
Nice,
very beautiful. And I'm happy to tell you that our show, Larry, the one we did like a couple of months back, that's the one we used for testing the equipment here. So everyone saw your face here before this whole thing started, and they seem to enjoy it. Yeah. So what have you been up to lately?
Oh yeah, boy, what have I been up to? Just staying alive, doing podcasts and hodling and dollar cost averaging, and fighting the powers that be, right? Trying to understand how and why they've been able to delay this thing for so long. Well, I think it's slipping.
You're the best person to ask, actually, Larry, because for the listeners that might not know, you spent decades in the gold space. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are those guys coming around, or have you just you don't bother calling them anymore? Do you go to gold conferences anymore, or are you just checking out?
Yeah, I give you a lot of data on that. So I think I've said this in the past. Half of them are there, and I go to a gold conference. Every gold conference I go to, I ask, how many guys own Bitcoin? Half the hands go up. So some of them get it. They're the hardcore people who don't, like Peter Schiff and others who are their money is all, their business is based on gold. And Mike Mahoney this morning I saw he's talking about gold and silver. And it's interesting. I've been invited to the New Orleans Gold Show for a number of years in a row. I've been speaking, and I didn't get invited this year. And I'm kind of reading between the lines and thinking the issue is that I've gone too hardcore Bitcoin. And I'm not seen as a pure gold guy anymore. So, and that's okay. I mean, I'm good with it. as you know, I believe they each play a slightly different role. Gold is obviously a lower performer than Bitcoin, and ultimately Bitcoin will, demonetize gold, but it's going to take years. And gold is better for somebody who can't handle the volatility of Bitcoin. But they're both both forms of sound money. One's been around for 5,000 years. One's been around for 14, almost 15 years. So they each have a place. And I've answered a question a lot. People say, well, where are you on it all? And I'll tell people straight up, I'm about half of my investable capital. I'm about half in gold and gold stocks and about half in Bitcoin. So I straddle the two. The nice thing about gold is it doesn't go down 70% on a drawdown.
So you have one foot in the past and one in the future, then you could say.
That's right. And what'll naturally happen, I don't think I'm going to ever sell much of my gold. Maybe over time, I've sold some at times to buy Bitcoin when it's cheap. I might, if it takes another dip here, I might sell a little bit more. But in general, what happens is, as the Bitcoin goes up, the natural weighting of the gold goes down, right? I mean, double the value of Bitcoin right now, and suddenly I'm 2/3 Bitcoin, 1/3 gold. I'm not buying any more gold. Let's put it that way. So that tells you something. And I'm buying, any marginal capital I achieve through earnings, I use to buy Bitcoin. So, if what I expect to happen happens, eventually my gold holdings will probably be 10% of my net worth, and that's fine. I've always said gold coins are great for bribing people when you're trying to get out of a country.
Yeah, but you might not need that if you have 12 words.
Possibly. The problem is the kind of people that you're likely to have to bribe. I'm not so sure how sophisticated they're going to be. They're going to accept Bitcoin. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Hopefully we never go there, and rule of law and society all hang together. That's the hope for outcome. But it's a fourth turning, and anything could happen. You never know.
I'd be interested to know, Larry, at the firm EMA, with the people that you're dealing with day to day and advising. What's like the man on the streets kind of take on your U-turn to Bitcoin, and is your partner, your business partner, as down the rabbit hole as you, or is that?
He's very much down the rabbit hole. I mean, he's a partner in the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, and I mean, we all see that Bitcoin is going to replace gold. Look, I speak slightly differently depending upon the audience. I mean, I've got a lot of boomer clients, and a lot of them like gold. And I've had some clients leave me for going into Bitcoin. The fund has got about a 15% weighting in Bitcoin. Didn't start there. It kind of started at a couple percent, and then of course the coin's tripled. So, they like the fact that it's working. The fund itself is actually about 85% gold and silver mining stocks, because that's what the people bought when they invested with me. And I've convinced them to take up an optionality piece, I call it, in Bitcoin, which is about the 15%. So, it's funny. I've had a lot of clients who've been very, very anti-Bitcoin, older clients, and I've orange pilled many of them, not all of them. And some, they vary between totally getting it to being hostile towards it. And some are just indifferent. Some are just like, well, I'm too old to figure that out. I don't care about the upside. I just want to preserve what I've got, and this gold will work fine. So, full spectrum of views. But
and last question before I take over the show completely, Knut. What did you feel? Have you felt a shift in the narrative yet because of this talk about the BlackRock ETF coming in? Because I know boomer clients in particular could be now looking at that, man on the news wearing suit and tie now talks about ETF.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's
interesting.
Suddenly the career risk of being in Bitcoin, you're not a wacko, you're not a psychopath anymore. When BlackRock and Larry Fink are talking it up, and I think it's like so many people, it kind of becomes inevitable, and people hear about it. They're initially very skeptical of it, and they have lots of concerns, some of which are valid concerns, but they can be addressed. And as the concerns fall away and they see more people adopting it, it's a big deal. This BlackRock thing is a really, really big deal, because in the United States, I mean, sadly, a big piece of the United States investor class is advised by kind of traditional thinking people, some of whom actually get Bitcoin, but were afraid to recommend it as a result of, it would present career risk to them. and it wasn't within the Overton window of safe things that they could say. It didn't fit 60-40. And that's changing, right? And going to continue to change. And I think the Saylor interview recently with Natalie was so good because it talked about how, what an amazing time. We can see it's coming, and yet these people can't buy it yet and haven't bought it yet. But that thing's going to get approved. I mean, we know that. They had 570 out approved, and they wouldn't have done it if they didn't have the inside word they'd get there. And so that thing's going to get approved, and bang, there's going to be a lot of demand. Reminds me a lot, actually, there's an analog to this. Back in 2003, the GLD was the gold ETF.
Yeah.
And prior to that, if you wanted to buy gold, you had to go buy coins or bars or bullion and deal in it physically and so on and so forth. That GLD was one of the fastest growing, most successful ETF starts ever. And it led to a lot of people, you know, in their brokerage accounts, their retirement accounts, buying gold. And so, you know, once this thing comes out, you know, what's a couple percentage of the trillions of dollars that are stored in other financial assets? I mean, it's a big number. It's a lot more than the $500 billion market cap that we look at today. So it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. I'm incredibly bullish for where Bitcoin is going.
So, are you traveling to Europe this fall, Larry, or do we have to wait?
I don't have anything on the calendar, right? I saw the Amsterdam thing. It's I've got two things I need to do this fall that are pretty important. One is Pacific Bitcoin, because I'm partners with the Swan guys in this Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, which, by the way, is still open if anybody's looking for a really great way to participate in the Bitcoin infrastructure. I'm also, I go to a couple of gold shows in September. The leading mining conferences are in Denver and Beaver Creek coming up in September. So those two things have me pretty booked up. But you know, a possibility if there are other shows, other Bitcoin shows later on. And of course, as Princey knows, you know, Madeira's coming up. It's not that far away, right?
So
I want to go watch you guys drink ponchas. I don't, you know, since I don't drink, I can't partake. But I know the orange juice tastes great, so I'm there.
Yeah, so next time we'll have the pleasure of seeing you in person. We'll be on Madeira then.
I think that's right. I mean, unless there's a good fall conference that I'm missing. What are you guys doing? Are there good things going on this fall? Amsterdam, but I don't think I can do Amsterdam because of conflict with these other travel schedule stuff. So
the first thing is Riga now, just a week from now. And after Riga, there's Amsterdam, and then some of us are going to Liberty in a Lifetime in Prague, which is more of a libertarian conference, the Free Cities Foundation, Peter Young's thing. So that's a really great one. We went last year.
Yeah, the information and the dates on that. That's kind of intriguing. Yeah.
It's just after Bitcoin Amsterdam, so I think it's the 14th, 15th of October.
September.
October.
Oh, October.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be tough just because we've got Pacific Bitcoin. I have to turn around from there and go right back to it. But we'll see. I'll take a look at it.
But immediately after that, go Knut.
Yeah, after that, Lugano in Switzerland. Close to the Italian border. And after that, there's and Lugano is on the 26th, I believe, or something like that, right?
21st of October.
21st. Oh, of course. And after that, we're going to Stuttgart for Bitcoin in Ländle, which is more of a German event, but we're trying to English fill them the best we can.
Lugano's an invite-only thing, though, I think, isn't it? No?
Nope. Come on.
Open? Okay.
And I mean, I'm sure they'd give you an invite as well.
Well, it's can't hate Switzerland and Italy. That all works.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So how have all you guys been? I haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you. How are things?
Oh, great. It's been a shitty summer weather-wise, but otherwise up here in the north. But other than that, it's just been enjoying ourselves. I think we all took a little time off from conferences here during the summer. I've been spending time with my family, and I think the others have too. So that's the thing. I just realized we haven't asked you the question we asked all other guests. and that is like Bitcoin Infinity Day. We celebrate Bitcoin's infinite potential. So what does that mean to you? Like, what does today mean to you?
Well, I mean, it really is. I mean, was it you, Knut, that coined this, infinity over 21 million? Were you the one who originally designed that logo? I mean,
this is the designer of the logo, but it comes from an article I wrote where there was a sentence, imagine everything there is divided by 21 million. That sort of took off. So that's the LDR on that.
So I buy it completely, and then that's not hard to get to because it's the best form of sound money ever invented, and the truth will win out. And I feel like the higher power and the Almighty has a good sense of humor, and so he's gonna bring punishment on the fiat lords who believe worship a false idol. So I have no doubt that it's happening. Probably the more interesting thing for the listeners and viewers would be, okay, fine, on what time frame? And my daughter and I were just talking about this morning. I'm pretty sure it happens by, I'll give you the outer range, 2038. That's the outside range. I'll give you the expected range is 2028 to 2032. Which kind of,
what do you mean by what exactly happens then? Hyper-Bitcoinization, and what is that?
Hyper-Bitcoinization. The last fiat currency completely fails.
Okay, that's your definition of that. Because like the funny thing is about hyper-Bitcoinization is like there's no end point to it, is there? Like we can still just use Bitcoin even more than we were yesterday. Right.
Yeah, no, there is no end point, but there's a point in time at which the parabolic curve goes straight up, very much. Yeah, and I think that's a end of this decade, early next decade event, kind of most likely case. Kind of worst case, I think it's a late next decade, 2038 kind of event.
Lauren,
and I do the math and looking at kind of logarithmic growth, and so that's kind of how I see it.
I just wanted to ask you, Lars, how do you see that transition?
Well, in what respect? I mean, suddenly, slowly and then all at once, right? I mean, it's, I gave this as an example recently. I mean, human beings don't understand logarithmic growth, right? If you take something, you double it every period, in 30 periods, it becomes just an enormous figure almost, and just keeps on growing. And so, at some point in time, fiat's going to fail, and that's kind of what I'm describing. And it really comes to everybody being forced to recognize that their money is inferior to this money. And right now, it's a small group of us who know it, and in 10 or 20 years, the entire world's going to know it. And so what we're in the process of watching is how we get from small group knowing it to everybody knowing it. And it'll just every year it will grow, and it will be a much better world when we're there, because
but do you see the transition being peaceful or violent?
Yeah, well, that's everybody's mind.
Yeah, ultimately peaceful. I mean, Foss and others say they want it to go slowly so we can all adjust to it. I mean, sadly, I don't think that's the way it works. I think it's going to go relatively. It's going to go slowly, and then it's going to accelerate, and then it's going to get worse. And I think sadly, given the constant, given how people are, and given the history of fourth turnings, I'm sure there will be violence at some point throughout all of it. Because I think that people who have interest to defend are going to use violence to try and defend those interests, sadly.
Yeah.
And I can't see how. I mean, I'd like to think we make it all the way there just peacefully, and it's kind of a kumbaya, this is a better money. But history generally shows that when you impoverish a lot of people all at once, they're pretty pissed off, and they don't tend to, necessarily behave rationally. And war is a pretty irrational thing, in a fixed resource planet. And yet, we've had a lot of them, and I'm sure we're going to have a few more.
Yeah, the thing I think people miss about this is that they're living under threats of violence right now.
Oh, that's
If you don't pay your taxes and if you don't use government issued money, you face a real risk of having people with guns come take you away at the end of the line.
that's correct.
So the faster the better, in my opinion, as well, because I think Bitcoin is peace. Like, it is the peaceful way of doing things. It's completely voluntary and completely without any threat of violence. So that's the thing.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's why I actually say rip off the Band-Aid as well. But it's extremely difficult to predict how this is going to unfold. Extremely,
of course,
and nobody knows. Absolutely nobody knows. But the reason to be optimistic is it will be enormously better on the other side.
Yeah.
And the other reason for me to be optimistic anyway is that the higher powers that be, are going to mete out some serious pain to the people who deserve it. So, and that I'm really looking forward to that, because they've been meting out pain to me for the last 40 fucking years.
Yeah, we've got an actually interesting question in the chat here. Yeah, here, I'll show it. Mankind used silver, gold, copper previously, but created their own currencies to circumvent the limited resource problem. Why won't something similar happen in the case of Bitcoin? What does everyone think? Why won't new currencies get created? Yeah.
If I may try here, that was an artificial problem. And it was the problem of divisibility and transportability, though, because it's kind of hard to split gold into smaller and smaller parts. But Bitcoin doesn't have those problems, and that's what differentiates it from a dumb rock. I hope I don't offend you by calling gold a dumb rock, Larry. But so that's the thing. When money is information, that problem does not exist anymore. So Bitcoin holds its value through time, and it can beam value through space because it has no mass. It's the element zero theory, that this is just an element on the periodic table that is perfectly engineered for being money that we discovered somehow. And
yeah, I would answer
way.
I agree with that. I'd take a slightly different slant on it. I mean, mankind used silver, gold, copper, but created his own currencies to circumvent the limited resource problem. So, no, gold, silver, and copper were the right way of using. They were money, gold particularly. They were money pre a better alternative, and Bitcoin's a better alternative. But we created currencies in order for bankers and people in the financial business to get rich at the expense of everybody else. The Bitcoin, is a form of currency that's sound money like gold and silver. And the only flaw in Bitcoin, or the only flaw in the system that I foresee, somebody asked me the other day, said, is Bitcoin a panacea? I said, yeah, it is in all respect except for one, and that is paper Bitcoin. Gold has been suppressed through the paper markets, and Bitcoin is actually at risk of the same issue. I think it's lower risk because of the on-chain and the settlement and all the issues that you've talked about, Knut. But it's not zero risk because there are Bitcoin derivatives. There is paper Bitcoin. I mean, look, FTX had paper Bitcoin. He claimed he had $1.6 billion in Bitcoin. He had zero. So he had sold somebody a Bitcoin claim with no Bitcoin to back it up. So, and there could and will be perhaps more of that. And that's somewhat of a problem. I mean, what we're race against is for the Bitcoiners to basically control the world or own the world as a result of hyper Bitcoinization. So that one of the first laws that they will pass is the law that says that financial derivatives are banned, because the derivatives game basically allows the person with the largest balance sheet to win. And so, it's a crooked game. So
yeah,
anyway.
it's
hey, Andre, how are you? Nice to see you. Are you in Madeira? Yeah. We don't have your audio.
I think we do.
Andre, say something. Oh, no, can't hear you. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah.
Is that Andre or John Vallis?
Well, we don't have Andre's audio, unfortunately. We could try. Maybe you've got like another input or something like that. But your background is fantastic. You're clearly in paradise. I think that's Madeira.
So just to touch on this this question here, the gold, copper, and silver used previously but created own currencies to circumvent the limited resource problem. I don't know if you guys have Obi coming on at any stage, but it'd be interesting to talk to him about that question and what's going on with Fedi and how Fedi is being set up with the Xiaomian mint. You deposit Bitcoin into the Fedi mint, into the community holding pot, for want of a better word, and in return you get did a lot of noise from Andre.
Can you try saying something, Andre?
No, I'm getting a lot of feedback. You guys?
Yep. So we're that didn't work, Andre. Sorry.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear Obi's take on that if he's coming on. And
yeah, I don't think Obi's coming on today, unfortunately, unless he wants to. So Obi, if you're listening to this, you're welcome up here on stage, of course. We'll shoot us a DM and we'll send you the link. I'd just like to tie this back to how banking started, because banking was basically just a guy with a vault somewhere to keep your gold safe and your valuables safe. So that guy soon realized that he could print more receipts for gold than he actually had gold in his vaults. Mm-hmm. And that's how the bill was created. The first monetary bill was created. It's just a receipt for gold. Because the risk of everyone wanting their gold back at the same time was minimal. Until, of course, he printed too much of them and there was a bank run. And then everyone went after that quote-unquote banker with pitches and pitchforks and torches. That's why the central bank was created, to bail these people out to bail out crooks, basically. So it's all, it's the most evil institution ever created, I would say.
The other interesting thing here, Larry, is was gold ever globally adopted? Right? I mean, because once the settlers hit the U.S. shores and they went west, young man, we had the gold rush, right? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, the native Indians were run out of town because they didn't realize they weren't using gold. No one had told them, right? They didn't get the facts. They didn't get the email. They were using feathers and skeleton bones and shells or whatever it was valuable to them. And this, right? And when you think about that, that's just crazy to me that we just default think gold was globally accepted as like the world currency. And it totally wasn't in some parts of the world.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in some countries made the mistake of going on the silver standard when gold was a much better choice. I mean, but the Indians actually really lost as a matter of numbers and the fact that they didn't have gunpowder. I mean, that was the biggest, the biggest asymmetry that existed, when that came through. But yeah, I mean, look, gold isn't perfect money by any stretch, but it's a damn sight better than fiat. And fiat is completely and totally, ruined the world and is out of control. And it's becoming obvious now, I think, to everybody. Everyone knows something's wrong. Sadly, those of us who understand what it is, it's a small number. But as somebody said on Twitter the other day, that was a great comment, imagine getting to live through something that happens only once every 100 years, sovereign debt crisis. And that's what we're in right now, a sovereign debt crisis. And, it's going to be scary, but it's also going to be exciting. And, I'd rather be in the right stuff, going through it, even if it means 70% drawdowns,